And I know that you guys are the ones that are in homes that people trust, and that when you have the information, you can really share it out to a lot of people who might not get it through the regular channels. So today I'm going to talk to you about the child tax credit, why it's still important, why outreach still matters, even though as of right now, they haven't expanded this credit beyond tax year 2021, and how you can help clients, family members, anyone in the community access the credit. Most importantly, we're not trying to make anyone a tax expert today. You'll see that this information is really straightforward, and we have a lot of guidance on where to go and how to move, and how to help people without having to mire yourself in all sorts of tax law. So as was mentioned, I'm with the Coalition on Human Needs. This outreach effort is part of a partnership between the Coalition on Human Needs and the Partnership for America's Children. Both organizations are out of DC, and both are focused on all sorts of large outreach in all sorts of different areas to focus and advocate on a lot of things around child advocacy, as well as poverty issues across the country. So what is the expanded child tax credit? I'm going to do a little refresher first for anyone who might not be as familiar. So the 2021 expanded CTC meant more money to more families, and also more families being eligible for tax year 2021. So the child tax credit went up from $2,000 for any child ages 0 to 16 to $3,600 per child ages 0 to 5, and $3,000 per child ages 6 through 17. So a significant increase in the amount of money that families could get. And then they also added another year of eligibility for a child to be claimed. There's no minimum income requirement, so families with no earned income at all are eligible for the full credit. The credit is fully refundable, which means families are eligible for the full amount even if they don't owe taxes. And families were eligible to receive half of the CTC in 2021 and half when they filed their taxes this year, or the full credit if they did not get advance payments in 2021. So what happened in 2021 was that it's starting in July, families who had filed taxes in 2019, 2020 were basically already in the system, automatically started receiving payments either by check or auto deposit into their bank accounts from July to December. They got half of the payments, meaning that if they claimed one child that, let's say, was 10 years old, they would be eligible to receive $3,000 total, but they would only get the first $1,500 in those 6 months in 2021. And then when they filed their taxes, and they had to file their taxes in the beginning of 2022 to get the second half. So this is an example of how much money is actually at stake and could be on the table for a family. So if we have a family with a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, in total for the 2021 CTC, they could receive $10,200. And remember that this is families who have no income, who aren't working or low income, are eligible for this tax credit. So this is a lot of money. This can be some life-changing money for a lot of families. And on top of that, families might also qualify for other money through stimulus payments that maybe they didn't receive, or other state or federal tax credits. And who is eligible for the 2021 CTC? And now we're going to talk about how to claim it. So an adult claiming a child for the CTC can have a social security number or an individual taxpayer identification number, or an ITIN, but all children who are claimed must have social security numbers, and those social security numbers must be valid for employment. The dependent must be the adult's child, including adopted, or a grandchild, stepchild, a younger sibling, a step sibling, half sibling, or their descendant, or a foster child placed by a government agency. The dependent must have lived with the adult in the US for more than half of the year they're in 2021. There's some exceptions, like babies who were born in the second half of 2021. But essentially, that means the person who is claiming the child must have lived with them for a total of 6 months and a day. It doesn't have to be 6 months consecutively, but in total, they would have had to live with them for that amount of time to be able to claim them. And the dependent did not provide over half of their own support in 2021. And how to claim the CTC. So as I mentioned, in 2021, most families automatically received advanced CTC payments that ranged from $250 to $300 from the months of July through December. Families who were not required to file taxes or didn't do so in 2019 or 2020 for other reasons had to take additional steps to receive the payment. So these are families that weren't in the IRS system, so they didn't get these automatic payments. And what essentially they had to do was go on the non-filer portal, which I'll get to in a second, called getctc.org. And they did basically a simplified tax return to get those advanced payments at the end of 2021. But everyone, whether they got advanced payments or they went on getctc.org, had to file a tax return in this previous tax season to receive the second half or the full amount of the 2021 CTC. So one of the big messages we have right now is that people are like, well, the tax season is over, so why are we still doing this? But just because tax day has passed, it doesn't mean that families can't still claim the CTC. And in fact, I think a lot of our outreach is really more focused on people who probably didn't file taxes because they didn't have to file taxes because of their income brackets. So individuals with no or low income can generally still file a tax return without penalty outside of tax season. Even if they were required to file a tax return, but they didn't, but would have been due a refund from the IRS, they can also still file without penalty. So this is somebody perhaps that might work, makes very low income, that they don't have to file a tax return, but perhaps would have qualified for something like the earned income tax credit and gotten some money back. If those kinds of individuals in those situations didn't file a tax return this year, because they could be owed money, there's no penalty for them filing late. And individuals have 3 years to claim any tax credits they are owed. This is also really important because I'm going to talk about getctc.org in a second, and that's going to be open through mid-November. And we really want to encourage people to use that who qualify for that. But these expanded tax credits will essentially be on the table through tax season 2025. So even if they don't extend the child tax credit at the end of the year, people who didn't claim it at all have until 2025 to file a tax return, back tax return, and get the credits. So getctc.org, what is it? It's a simplified filing tool that helps families claim the CTC and the third stimulus payment. So people can use it. If anyone hasn't claimed the third stimulus payment, they can also use it to claim that. It was created by Code for America and is an IRS-approved official e-provider. It's available in English and Spanish. It's mobile friendly, so families can do it on the phone or on the laptop, whatever's easier for them. There's chat support available. Most individuals finish it in less than 15 minutes. And as I said, getctc.org is open through about mid-November of this year. And who can claim the CTC using getctc.org? So anyone to be able to get your CTC through the portal, you have to not yet file the 2021 tax return. So there might be some people out there who maybe use getCTC in the fall, and then, or actually, no, that's a bad example. There might be some people out there who filed tax returns at the beginning of this year and didn't know that they qualified for the CTC. Because they already filed a tax return, they can't use getctc.org. They would have to amend their taxes. We'll talk about that as well. Individuals have to have made under $12,550 as a single person, $18,800 as a head of household, or $25,100 for couples that are married and filing jointly in 2021. They can't have earned more than $400 in self-employment income. Again, they have to have a social security number or an individual taxpayer ID number, and children have to have the social security number. They must have lived in the 50 states or DC or in a US military facility. And they did not have advanced premium tax credits. These are credits that individuals receive for health insurance, purchasing health insurances on the exchange. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a short video from GetCTC that takes you through the tool so you can see how it works. So let me just switch my screen. Okay. And please let me know if for some reason you can't hear.
This video will show you how to use the 2022 edition of Code for America's simplified tax filing portal, GetCTC. GetCTC allows families without a tax filing obligation to file a simplified 2021 tax return to access the child tax credit and the third stimulus payment. GetCTC e-files a simplified return directly with the IRS. It's mobile-friendly, accessible, available in both English and Spanish, and chat assistance is available at any point in the process. People without children can use it too, just to access the third stimulus payment. This is what GetCTC looks like at our launch in May 2022. Note that we constantly update the tool in response to user feedback, so it may look a little different later in the year. First, GetCTC will go through a few steps to confirm that it's the right tool for me. The tool asks first how I'm filing my return, single or married. Then the tool confirms that the IRS allows me to use simplified filing, since households with higher incomes or other special circumstances, like self-employment income, are required to file a full return. If, for example, I'm not sure what counts as self-employment income, additional information is available below. GetCTC will then warn me that I could get even more money by filing a full return, since I can't get the EITC or state credits from this tool. To get the first two stimulus payments, I would have to file a 2020 tax return. Those who choose to file a full return or back taxes are sent to Get Your Refund, which allows families to file using VITA services. Next, GetCTC will ask me a few other questions to confirm I'm eligible to use the tool. It lists a few additional and rare scenarios that GetCTC does not support, and will ask whether I already filed a 2021 return this year. If I already submitted a return, the IRS would reject a new one I filed through this tool. Then, GetCTC will confirm I lived in the 50 states, DC, or a US military facility last year, since overseas and territory residents are currently not eligible to use simplified filing. Finally, it will confirm that no one can claim me as a dependent, since that would make me ineligible for the CTC and stimulus checks. I've now confirmed I'm eligible to use GetCTC. In the next section, GetCTC asks for some basic information about me. I'll enter my name, date of birth, and social security number. Note that I could also enter an ITIN. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks for my phone number. It also asks if I was a member of the Armed Forces in 2021, since that could impact the amount of my recovery rebate credit. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks if I am legally blind. Finally, GetCTC asks me to agree to the privacy policy. Then the tool will check if I filed a 2020 return. If I did, GetCTC would collect my 2020 adjusted gross income, which the IRS requires from filers for authentication purposes. In this case, I'll say that I didn't file last year. On this page, we ask clients the contact method we can use to best reach them. Note, GetCTC does not require clients to create an account and does not require them to have an email address. Clients simply have to sign up using their email or their phone. In this case, I'll choose to sign up by phone. GetCTC will send me a 6-digit code that I must enter to confirm it's mine. For the purposes of this demo, I'll enter a fake code on this page. Note that if I don't finish my return in one sitting, I can log back in and continue using this contact method. Next, if I were filing married, GetCTC would collect needed information about my spouse, their name, date of birth, social security number or ITIN, and 2020 adjusted gross income, if applicable. In this case, I'm filing single, so GetCTC will skip this section. In the next section, GetCTC allows me to list my 2021 dependents. Rather than assume I've read all the tax rules, GetCTC asks me all the key questions I need to answer to make sure I can claim my dependents. Keep in mind that the pages clients see in this section very much depend on the answers they provide. First, I'll enter my dependent's basic information: name, date of birth, relationship to me, and SSN or ATIN. We ask about one specific scenario to confirm basic eligibility. Next, GetCTC will ask me to confirm a few more criteria. If at any point my dependent doesn't meet the main criterion, GetCTC will ask whether one or more valid exceptions apply. Behind the scenes, GetCTC will determine which credits my dependent is eligible for. Finally, GetCTC will show me a list of my dependents, including whether they are eligible for CTC or only for the third stimulus payment. I can keep repeating this process until all my dependents are recorded. For now, I'll say I only have one dependent. In the next section, GetCTC will determine my credit amounts. First, GetCTC will figure out how much CTC I can claim. The IRS requires families to report how much advanced CTC they received last year and subtract this from their total credit. GetCTC makes this process easier by calculating how much families should have received based on the dependents they provided earlier. I can say that I got this amount, a different amount, or no payment at all. In this case, I'll say I got the estimated amount. GetCTC calculates the remaining CTC available to me. Next, GetCTC will figure out how much recovery rebate credit I can claim, that is, the third stimulus payment. As with CTC, the IRS requires families to report how much they received last year. Again, GetCTC will display how much I should have received based on my family structure. In this case, I'll say I got a different amount. GetCTC will ask me to enter what I received and provide some tips about where to find this information. I'll say in this case that I received $200. GetCTC will then let me review the amount I'm claiming. Finally, GetCTC will collect my payment information and allow me to review and submit my return. I can select direct deposit or a mailed check. In this case, I'll select direct deposit. GetCTC asks me to confirm that my name is on the bank account, so the payment is not rejected. I'll provide my routing number and my account number. And finally, we'll have the chance to confirm my information. The IRS also requires that I provide my mailing address. GetCTC allows me to enter identity protection pins for anyone in my family who has one, and provides more information about what an IP pin is. I'll say that no one in my family has an IP pin. Now, I can review all the information I've submitted and go back to edit anything that's wrong. On this page, as required by the IRS, I set a 5-digit PIN that I can use to authenticate when I file next year. On the next page, I'll see a final summary of the payments I am claiming. Next, I have the option to submit my driver's license information and my spouse's if I were filing married. Especially for clients without a tax filing history, the IRS may process returns and issue refunds faster if this information is submitted, and we recommend clients provide it if possible, but it is not required. If I don't have a driver's license or don't want to provide the information, I can skip this page. Finally, I'll agree to our terms on the last page, and I'll file. Just like that, I've filed my simplified return. GetCTC will alert me within a couple days whether my return has been accepted or rejected by the IRS. Most clients hear within a few hours. If my return was rejected, GetCTC will provide me with a plain language explanation of why, and allow me to log back in and resubmit my return. You can find GetCTC at getctc.org. For more resources about the CTC and stimulus payments, visit getctc.org/navigators.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, while we're here, actually put the link to that demo in the chat, just so everybody has it. Okay. And okay. Why is it? Okay. So that was getctc.org. Now let's talk about who might file a full tax return rather than file through getctc.org. So individuals who make above the filing thresholds that we discussed and are eligible for additional money through full tax filing, like the earned income tax credit, GetCTC may redirect them to its partner website. So people can actually go on getyourrefund.org, start answering the questions. And as was mentioned in the video, they can be prompted either because their income or something else shows that they don't qualify, or there's a possibility they could get more credits, and they'll get redirected to getyourrefund.org, which is a sister website, also from Code for America, to getctc.org. So I'm going to go over some resources that are are important to know about that are either limited or not available at this time. But the reason I want to include them in this presentation is because, as I mentioned, we have through tax season 2025. So come this winter, if you're talking to families, doing outreach, whatever it is, you should know that these are available resources for families to do full filing if you come across someone who still hasn't received the credit. So through getyourrefund.org, you can identify, people can identify local VITA sites. At this time of the year, a lot of VITA sites are closed. Sometimes ones that are in more city, larger areas are still open. So you can use this tool to find a VITA site right now, but make sure to call ahead of time just to make sure they're open. And just a note as well that for married couples, both partners do have to go to any VITA appointments. On getyourrefund.org as well, individuals can access free do-it-yourself tax filing services. So if somebody's comfortable filing on their own, that's available for them through that. And this is just as good, if not better than, H&R Block or TurboTax and all of these. These are just as valid. And as mentioned earlier, IRS approved. There's limited capacity, but there's also free virtual filing assistance that includes an opportunity to talk about a family's tax situation with a tax specialist over the phone. Again, it's limited right now, but I can imagine during tax season, if you want to use this resource, there will be a larger capacity on both ends. There's also the ARP Foundation tax aid sites. These are definitely closed right now. They're only open during tax season, but this is another resource to use and to know about. They're a little more focused on individuals who are over 50 or have low to moderate income, but they do provide free tax filing services. And as we know, there are probably a lot of grandparents who are have custody of children who may not know that they qualify for this money. So this is a resource for them to get free tax assistance. And then there are the low income taxpayer clinics, the LITCs. These are open right now. Their main purpose, or the things that they can mainly help with, is first, custody issues. We have had this come up a lot. Sometimes a parent is claiming the credit while the child is actually living with somebody else. This is definitely a concern I think grandparents have in terms of claiming the credit. They can help and give some legal counsel around what options are available to dispute. It's also another service that they have is for anyone who needs to amend their taxes. So as I mentioned earlier, somebody might have filed their taxes at the beginning of the year, not known that they qualified for the CTC under this expansion and didn't get the money. The LITCs are somewhere that they can go to amend their taxes. VITA sites can do that as well, but LITCs are also available. And, a lot of people are going to have to find a paid tax preparer, or maybe perhaps prefer a paid tax preparer than going to VITA sites or some of these other places. I'm going to share at the end our toolkits that have all of these links. So all of these links that I'm showing you will you'll have access to. But this is one that we found a great resource from the IRS on some, I think there are about 10 questions a family or a person can ask a paid tax preparer to make sure that they're going to someone that's high quality and reputable and is going to get their taxes done right for them. This is another resource that's in our toolkits that we'll also share. This is just a list put together in both English and Spanish from one of our other partners on this, the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. They've put together a great list on what to bring to a tax appointment. So we know that a lot of families don't have a lot of time to go to these appointments. So we want them to be fully prepared. And these are two great resources so that they have all that they need to show up to their appointment and get their taxes done. And now I just want to go over some common barriers, concerns, questions that regularly come up around eligibility and other concerns on the CTC. So one of the first questions that comes up a lot is, does receiving the CTC impact other public benefits? The answer to this is no. Getting this credit will not change any federally funded public benefits that a family receives, such as Social Security, SNAP, child care subsidies, TANF should be on here, or WIC. Will receiving the CTC affect someone's immigration status or ability to get a green card? The answer to that is also no. So under the current law, receiving the CTC or other tax credits does not affect a person's immigration status, their ability to get a green card, or their future immigration plans. Use of tax credits is not considered in a public charge determination by USCIS. Will the IRS share someone's immigration status with other government agencies? The answer to this is also no. The IRS is forbidden to share an individual's tax information with other agencies. There are limited exceptions, and this relates to certain criminal investigations or to determine someone's tax liability. If someone ever comes across as a client or anything like that, they might be one of these limited exceptions, we recommend referring them to possibly the LITCs or some legal aid society, something like that, or immigration services for their particular case. Can parents, caregivers claim the CTC using ITIN numbers? So this is the biggest change in the post-tax season time after April 18th of 2022. So as we discussed, yes, adults with Social Security numbers or ITINs can claim the CTC for children who have Social Security numbers. If they have a current ITIN, they can file to claim the CTC and potentially other credits. Unfortunately, if they have never had an ITIN and did not apply for a tax filing extension by April 18th, they can no longer claim the 2021 CTC. They can still apply for the ITINs to file taxes and potentially claim credits in the future, but anyone who did not have an ITIN or didn't file request a tax filing extension by April 18th can no longer claim the 2021 CTC. If they have an expired ITIN, meaning they had an ITIN, and I think ITINs have to be renewed every 3 years or something like that. If they have an expired ITIN and just haven't renewed it, they actually can still claim the 2021 CTC. They just have to submit the Form W-7 to renew their ITIN and then file their tax return. And we have a resource on that as well from the IRS on how people can navigate that. Will an individual ever have to pay this money back? So the CTC is not a loan. If someone receives payments for a child who is no longer their dependent, they may have to pay that money back. So let's say somebody either knowingly claimed the child or like just received the automatic payments because perhaps they had the full custody of the child in 2020 or 2019. There are some protections for those individuals depending on their income. So incomes, the largest protections are for incomes below 40,000 for singles, 50,000 for head of households, and 60,000 for married couples. There are more limited protections for those with higher incomes. So we're looking at 80,000 for individuals, 100,000 for single head of household, or 120,000 for couples filing jointly. The outreach we're doing right now, and I think the majority of the people who probably haven't claimed the CTC at this time are not in those higher income brackets, but in those sort of like that 40,000, people have come across individuals or families who got a credit for a child that's no longer with them, so or is living with somebody else. So it's important to know that there are some protections for them in having to pay this money back if they have those concerns. And what if someone hasn't filed a tax return in recent years? So as we mentioned, people with very low incomes are generally not required to file. Even if they were required to file, again, there's not a penalty if the IRS owes them a refund. And taxpayers can file for the past 3 years to receive the refunds they're owed, as we mentioned. So the biggest concern here is for anyone who has perhaps owes back child support or owes back taxes from not paying taxes. The message to those individuals is that the filing for the credit can go towards paying off their outstanding child support or their taxes first. And if they receive, and they'll receive any amount left over. If it all goes toward what is owed, it's going to reduce their debt and means that they can claim credits in the future. So there is a reason for anyone who is in that situation to perhaps file their taxes or file for the CTC, if not to just pay off their debts. And again, in those particular situations, if they seem like they're really sticky situations, our recommendation is to refer them to some sort of legal aid or LITCs for their particular cases. I also want to mention that there was a letter that went out. It's called IRS Letter 6419. This letter went out to anyone who received payments in the second half of 2021. A lot of people have reported that these payments were off, that, you know, what the letter said didn't match what they actually got. Some of this was because the IRS had an old address and then they sent checks out to the old address and the family never got them or cashed them. So this letter is required for any sort of full tax return filing. So if a family has concerns that the letter isn't matching, they can go on check out their account on their IRS online portal to get the most accurate, up-to-date information on what the IRS actually has them having received. And as I mentioned, we have a number of toolkits. So these toolkits have all these resources I mentioned and more. We have a toolkit that's for partners. We have one for families. That one has is really straight to the point. It has like the Form W-7 for the ITINs and those, what do you need to bring to a tax appointment and how to find a reputable tax preparer. All of that is in there. And I'll pop all of this in the chat as well when I'm finished. And once you have the link, our toolkits are living, breathing documents. You'll see it's in a Google Drive portal. So we're always updating it with the most up to date. We also have lots of flyers. We updated our flyers recently in partnership with Code for America and the Shaw Family Foundation out of Massachusetts. So we have 3 different flyers in 11 different languages. And they're completely editable. So you can take them and put in the information that you need for your community or your clients. And so all of that is in the toolkits as well. We also have a website that links to the toolkits. It lists any upcoming events that we have. We also do a lot of blogs when we get updates on information, like the ITIN information when it came out. We wrote about it and it's on there. So it's another great resource to keep you up to date on what's going on with the CTC. And this is just a list of the different things that we have in the toolkits. And if you're interested, you can sign up for our listserv. We promise not to spam you. It's strictly CTC related. So again, if we have an event that's open to the public, if we have new information that's come out that we find is important to share, or updates or any changes, you'll be updated through the listserv if you sign up. And this is my contact information. I'll also put this in the chat. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We actually really appreciate when people have sort of specific questions for a specific family, because it helps us to know actually what's going on the ground. And I think anyone can relate to this, but every situation is different. And so when somebody has a problem that we've never heard before, it actually helps us in our outreach and being able to share out with everyone else. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And I will turn it, or we can move to Q&A now. Stop sharing my screen. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, I'll pop all those resources in while you think.
Thank you, Aline. I tried to help you a little bit by popping some things in the chat there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
But all right, does anyone else have any questions? I think I'm gonna try one of those sites to see if I missed out on something.
Oh, there you go.
I feel like I might have.
Yeah.
Maybe that third.
I was gonna ask, I think you went over it. If an individual hasn't filed their 2021 taxes yet, and they want to apply for the child tax credit, um, does receiving a child tax credit affect, like, I mean, is there any penalties with not filing yet and the child tax credit being reduced?
No, if someone hasn't filed their tax return and it's really because their income isn't high enough to need to file a tax return, there's no penalty for that. The only way it would be reduced is if somebody owes back taxes or child support. But yeah, no.
Okay.
And that is not, is that or is it not included as income
The CTC, no. Like you mean for like
the
SNAP
next year? Yeah.
application?
Mhm.
No, no,
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, if there's no questions, I won't keep everybody. Thank you again for having me. I'm very happy to share this information with the community in South Carolina. Is there any way for someone in your organization to be willing to do community presentations? Yes, we're doing community presentations wherever anyone wants them. So please reach out. You can shoot me an email and we can be in touch.
And we will have all of that information on our site as well and the resources so that you all will be able to reach out to find it. Because this is very good information, especially as we go into the next tax year.
Yeah, yeah. Get people ready early. And I will, I'll share the slides with you as well, so you can have that to upload or share out in your listserv. So
Awesome. And I'm glad people have at least until 2025. And so
yeah,
maybe many of those who didn't file and thought did not have the opportunity can now go back. There's so much going on in the community.
yeah. It's a lot of money. And I will say too, you know, there might be some sort of CTC expansion next year. It might look a lot different than this expansion, not as extensive. So there's reason to continue doing the outreach for any sort of possible expansion, but also messaging that like for 2021, there was a lot of money, like, and we want you to get it. So.
Right. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. If you have any more questions, you can put them in the chat or send them either to Aline or to myself and we'll get them out. And you guys have a great rest of your day.